Hi, I'm Jen David Lang from The Main Idea, and I write leadership and education book summaries for educators. Today, I'd like to share 3 books on the topic of student engagement. Engagement is the foundation for just about everything. Students can't learn if they're not engaged. It's that simple, and I have some books I think can help. The first book is Engagement by Design by Douglas Fisher, Nancy Fry, and colleagues. Every educator knows how important student engagement is and has a goal to increase it. It's not like there are educators out there who say, oh, I don't want to increase student engagement. It's hard if you don't know how to define student engagement or if you don't know the strategies to choose to be most helpful. This book provides clarity on both. The authors share a helpful explanation of student engagement, including what it does and does not look like in the classroom, and they also offer practical engagement strategies that lead to results. To start with the definition, they believe engagement has 3 key components: relationships, clarity, and challenge. Teacher-student relationships are key if you want to increase student engagement. Clarity means ensuring students know what they're supposed to learn and what the achievable success criteria are. And challenge means providing appropriately challenging tasks and holding high expectations for your students. Then for each of these 3 areas, the authors share a number of research-based strategies to boost student engagement. You might already know these authors. Fisher and Fry are leaders in literacy education, and they've been researching and writing together for decades. I just really appreciate the research-based real-world experience they bring to just about everything they write. And if you would like a PowerPoint on the topic of student engagement, along with a handout, just send me an email. Imagine leading PD on student engagement so that your whole school can work together to increase student engagement and help students thrive. The second book I have for you on the topic of student engagement is The Highly Engaged Classroom by Robert Marzano and Deborah Pickering and their colleagues. For years, people thought student engagement was something that was based on factors outside of the classroom. However, the authors combed through a lot of research and they found many ways that teachers can deliberately plan to increase engagement within their classrooms. So in this book, they present an overview of that research, and then they also translate that research into over 40 strategies you can use. And actually, I compiled those 40 strategies into one page of my book summary. While we always seem to know when students are not engaged, we don't always have the language or the tools to understand why they're not engaged or what we can do to improve student engagement. It's tricky to define student engagement. In the literature, it often involves a combination of motivation, attention, interest, effort, enthusiasm, participation, and involvement. So the authors have gone through all of this and come up with a really clear definition of student engagement that I really like. They say that engagement happens when students answer yes to the following 4 questions. I love these questions. How do I feel? Am I interested? Is this important? And can I do this? It's a great way to define a student engagement. It's very student-centered. And then the book is organized so that there's one chapter for each of these questions that has a bunch of classroom strategies that you can implement. So unfortunately, student engagement doesn't spontaneously occur. Rather, it's the result of a teacher putting specific, effective strategies into place that are proven to foster engagement. So this book will help you learn those strategies so you can plan with the goal of addressing these 4 questions. I have the same PowerPoint and handout that I just mentioned previously, so if you'd like it, send me an email. So the third and final book on the topic of student engagement that I have is Leaders of Their Own Learning: Transforming Schools Through Student Engaged Assessment by Ron Berger and colleagues. So you may be wondering why I chose a book about assessment as a way to increase student engagement. Well, if you're thinking about testing as assessment, that's not the kind of assessment this book deals with. It's about student-centered assessment, the kind of assessment that goes beyond measuring learning and actually improves learning and motivation. This book presents a novel approach to assessment in which students are actively involved in understanding and monitoring their own growth and learning. And when students take more of a primary role in their own education, they become more motivated and engaged in their learning. So basically, student-engaged assessment helps students build the independence, the critical thinking skills, perseverance, and self-reflective understanding they need to succeed. And succeeding in school is actually motivating. Unfortunately, the most important assessments currently taking place in schools are seen by no one. These are the assessments that occur in each student's head throughout the day. Students constantly assess how much they care, how hard they're going to work, when their work is good enough, and how much they're going to learn. So what teachers and students really need are tools to tap into these internalized assessments. And that's why the authors have developed 8 practices to make up a more student-engaged approach to assessment. These practices include students understanding their learning targets, monitoring their understanding, using data themselves to improve learning, leading their own conferences with families, documenting and communicating their learning, and more. So if you like the idea of turning assessment into a student-centered tool to inspire students to learn, take a look at this book.